Continuing with who were you. Okay, we've gone through and we've asked some questions to explore. Okay, I want to go back, now that I've given you a little bit of an introduction, I want to go back and look at section 1 again with a little bit more depth. Now that I've given you some things to think about. Throughout oral and recorded history, man has tried to account for his beginnings and give meaning to his life. Spiritual ideas of reincarnation and immortality developed, and each contributed to the growth of orthodox religions, the basic principles of which were often questioned as scientific knowledge increased. However, despite all the acquired human knowledge and experience, fundamental questions of birth, life, and death, including what happens before and after life, still remain unanswered. So who were you? The question itself raises many more questions, which are now we can start to explore. We go back to, is there life before life? What's your thought? What's your opinion? In this book, he says, they say, the answer is yes. Life has been around since about 3,500 million years ago, albeit in a pre-cellular form at that time. However, that isn't the answer many people want. To answer the question, we have to ask, what is life? Then we can speculate on whether or not there was life before life began, and whether or not we each lived other lives before the life we are living now. Because we don't understand, we often use metaphors in an attempt to get to grips with the mysteries of life. Here are some metaphorical questions which illustrate the ways in which people have attempted to understand life. Water, air, or fire are common metaphors for life, perhaps because without them there would be no life. Is life a great reservoir? Is life an ever-growing river? Is life the great invisible? Is life an infinite number of single stars? Is life a light in the darkness of the void? Is each life a thread in the web of creation? Throughout this section you will find many unanswerable questions. Yet there are replies to these questions. Research, theories, principles, stories, scientific facts, ancient myths, and the traditional beliefs of several cultures will be presented. From these, you can select those that seem to make the most sense to you. Language itself can be a problem, so the main concepts we shall be exploring are shown. If the descriptions differ from those with which you are familiar, you may like to make a note. There is a page at the end of the book for notes. Oh, don't worry about that one. As you proceed through the book, quick references to concepts can be made by turning to the glossary. So if there's anything you're unsure of, please let me know in the thing below. Now I asked in the previous video, what are you? Are you A, the body, the biological self from head to toe? Are you the mind, the thinking ability of the body? C, heart, metaphorically, the feeling ability of the body? D, soul, the part of the body that is said to survive death? E, spirit, the life force which can take many forms? F, intelligence, the ability to understand? G, intuition, immediate understanding without reason? H, morality, principles of goodness or badness? Really, you're all. Is there an afterlife? Reincarnation theorizers assume that if we lived previous lives, we are going to live future lives. How much time elapses between each incarnation would depend upon how our spiritual life or soul develops. There's a diagram which represents a reincarnation sequence during an arbitrary time span. If your first experience of an afterlife was to become incarnate as a Stone Age cave dweller, what were you before then? Was yours the soul of a tree, a dinosaur, or a rock? Or were you a freelance quantum of energy? If your soul emerged from the primordial cosmos, was it identifiable as an individual unit of spirit, the same spirit that inhabits your body at this moment? Does your soul have a quasi-physical form that exists but cannot be perceived via normal senses? The single soul that is said to travel from one incarnation to the next is represented by a figure drawn in dotted lines. According to spiritualists, your soul would move among other souls between incarnation. Dying of wounds from an encounter with a wild boar and far from the safety of your home cave, did you dream of an afterlife? Did your soul have a choice? Reincarnating, for example, into the comparative comfort of a wealthy Roman family. How many previous incarnations have you had before the life that you are living as you read this book, or as you're listening to me? Was each incarnation of the same gender? After several lives as a man since your Stone Age initiation, did you perhaps become a medieval princess? Each new incarnate life begins with the conception in the fallopian tube of a woman and development in the womb. So how and when does the soul enter the body? During an incarnation, can the soul leave the body temporarily? And can we disembodied spirits visit other dimensions of time, revisit the past, or enter the future? And what happens when we die? All the ancient teachings suggest that the soul departs through the top of the head to yet another afterlife. I think that is more than enough information. I know I'm going to keep the videos really short because I don't want to bog you down with a lot of information, because that can become too much. But let me show you, if I can. Can you see? Whoops. Let's have a look right here. The incarnations. And you can see in between the dotted souls. So let's move along. Just something to think about. Is there an afterlife? Take a moment, take a breath. Are you ready for me to continue? Are you looking forward to your next incarnation? Many people do. Where will you be in AD 3000? The imagination of science fiction writers can suggest how the world might be. But what of individual souls? Some theories of reincarnation suggest that each departing soul rejoins the universal soul and loses its individuality, while others maintain it is the body that is resurrected. If this is true, then can you imagine yourself in future incarnations with the ever-renewable physical form regrown at each birth? The concept of karma, which is central to several belief systems, states that how you live each life affects your afterlife and your future incarnations. Your karmic inheritance ensures that you pay for past misdoings and reap the benefits of past good deeds. If you believe in the afterlife, do you think your next life will be better than this one, or worse? How would you like your afterlife to be? Okay, I feel that's more than enough so far. I'll continue in the next video. Is there an end to the afterlife? Take a breath. Take a moment to think about what I've said, what I've read. And are you ready for the next video? Take care and blessed be.